feature review time. For this, we went to Netflix and looked at a movie that was released last week, but nobody's talking about it, and it had some interesting people in it, a very interesting cast. So we thought we'd look into it. Zach, you're going to talk first about Joy.
Okay, Joy is the recent Netflix movie directed by Ben Taylor. I think that was the same name as the character in The Starling Girl, but I guess it's not the same actor. Anyway, the movie is not the Jennifer Lawrence, Robert De Niro, underrated David O. Russell movie from about 9 years ago, but it is the new movie starring Academy Award nominee Bill Nighy, Thomasin, McKenzie, and James Norton, and they play a trio of scientists in Great Britain in the early 1970s who are basically committed to the pursuit of trying to solve the problem of infertile women. My dog is also very committed to this cause, too. So the film follows these scientists in the 1970s, and they come across a variety of barriers. One is that basically it has been impossible for centuries to try to solve the problem of infertility. Second is that there are societal pressures, both at the institutions that they're working and in some cases their private lives. A lot of people are opposed to the idea of interfering with God's plan, so to speak. How dare you try to use science to solve what God did not solve for these people? And then the third pressure that the characters have too, at least in the case of one of the characters, is that she is suffering from a condition in endometriosis. This is the Thomasin McKenzie character, and she herself not only cannot have children, but is probably, in some serious health concern as she begins her life or her career as a scientist. Anyway, these three people all team up. And I think a pretty nice introduction to each of them. You get to know a little bit about each of these people. The Bill Nighy character is an elderly obstetrician named Patrick. James Norton is a scientist named Bob who has a big family, and he's sort of the pioneer of this treatment plan that he's developing. He even goes on a British talk show and debates James Watson about it. Anyway, when Thomasin McKenzie comes in, she brings basically a spark, basically connects these two characters. And once they're able to get a lab going up, she's the one that actually talks to the women who are suffering from infertility and gains and garnishes their trust. And the movie kind of shows, again, the personal and professional setbacks that these characters have. It takes place over, a period of maybe 5 or 6 years because they have a lot of unsuccessful results and there's a lot that happens. One of them actually leaves the scientific field. Another one has to deal with a dying relative. And in the end, always at the back of their minds is this notion that they can heal the pain that these couples have had to go through. And we hear some testimonies from some of them. There's a very interesting exchange where Thomasin McKenzie talks to a would-be mother who has wounds on her, and she kind of talks about how unhappy her life is. And it's real stuff. I don't know how much this movie is based and steeped in the actual story of these people. I assume it must be because this is one of those movies that at the end of the movie, it has archival footage of the actual people. And you can see that the filmmaker recreated some real life photos. And that element is fascinating. I do have to say this movie is bogged down a little bit because it has that very real, streaming Netflix sort of sentimentality. And it's got those very warm tones on it. It looks like it's shot very sleekly and digitally. I wish that this had been a little bit more of a grittier movie because I think it has a really important message, which is that, in the face of opposition, whether that be from politicians or from the church or from, the puritanical, hyper-kinetic community in England at that time, these people persevered in the name of science, in the name of trying to help those in need. And at the end of the movie, I talk about how in vitro fertilization has led to 12 million births, which is amazing if you think about it. The movie has, it's back and forth a little bit. It drags a little bit at times. I think Thomasin McKenzie is terrific in this movie. I think she brings like a great deal of charm to the character who is harboring basically a sort of sadness deep inside her, but has the perseverance to go do her job every day, which is, I think, really inspirational. There's a nice little scene of her with the mothers at the beach that the movie returns to from time to time. It's a movie that stuck up on me. I mean, I was a little prepared to be cynical about it and make fun of its sort of aesthetic, but it's an important story. I mean, women's reproductive rights face and new myriad crises right now over the next 4+ years. So it's a good reminder about the importance of this issue and really the true story behind the science of it, which I don't think a lot of people know. So I'm at 3 stars. I enjoyed this movie. Thomasin McKenzie's terrific as always. Bill Nighy basically kind of redoing the role that he got an Oscar nomination for. Old and grizzled is his new thing, I guess. But I really like him in whatever he's in. And I think this was a solid Netflix release. So check it out if you get a chance.
All right. 3 stars from Zach. Todd, what do you think?
Yeah, so this is the first theatrical film from Ben Taylor, and I think you can really tell because, like you were kind of saying, Zach, it feels like TV. It feels like Netflix. Like, this is the tone of the most forgettable biopics that we get. Like, there's zero subtlety in this. This is what Netflix does now. They get boring dramatizations of forgotten historical moments. And like, I feel like there's like a half a dozen of these every year. There's like The Good Nurse, there's Pain Hustlers or whatever. Like, I mean, I feel like this is like a yearly thing. But I think the movie's kind of lame in how it's set up. And I get what the movie's trying to do, but I don't think it does it well in making a compelling point, because it just is like a pseudo controversial topic and it has buzzwords, and that doesn't make it necessarily prescient. It just kind of makes it exist. But Thomasin McKenzie is really good in this. Like, her innocence that she portrays on screen is like really important for that character. James Norton, I all I kept thinking was that he looked like a young George Segal. I don't know what that says, but I mean, he does.
I see that.
But I mean, this is the type of like outdated TV movie that we would have gotten 15 years ago. Like, it would have been like Temple Grandin or something, and it would have played differently, and it would have been a huge awards player. But now it's just like mediocrity. Like, I mean, I was reminded of the Boston Strangler when watching this. I was just like, I'm not going to remember this in a few days, and I honestly don't remember that much about it right now. It's a bad screenplay. It's not aggressively bad, but it's just not good. Like, nobody's going to be passionate about this in one way or the other. It's a 2-star movie. And when Oogum Boogum song came on, I daydreamed for like 20 minutes about Almost Famous. That was kind of the way I was watching this. So,
I had the same reaction.
2 stars.
Yeah, this movie definitely has, like, think of the most like stereotypical 60s and 70s, soundtrack songs, and they will pop up here. Like, this is kind of like a side list from the power ranking we had a few weeks ago of songs synonymous with a scene. This is songs synonymous with a decade. And and you get all of them here. So Zach's at 3, Todd's at 2, I'm at 2.5. I'm kind of in between you guys on a lot of stuff. This movie starts out and I thought, this is lame. Just the whole setup to it is lame and unoriginal and by the book and all that. As the movie goes along, it like Zach says, it kind of sneaks up on you a little bit as you really start to understand where it's going, understand who it's or what the main characters are actually going to be. I felt like the first 15 minutes it sped through way too much stuff and the exposition, and like where are we going to focus this movie on? Then once you get there, I mean, it's not bad. Thomasin McKenzie is solid in this. I want to know like when she's going to get a decent role again. Like, it's been since Last Night in Soho that she's had a role that you can say is like a marquee role in a big time movie.
She was good in Eileen last year. You didn't see it, but she was very good.
No, I did see Eileen, and she was really decent in that. But I wouldn't say we reviewed it on here. I wouldn't say though that was like a marquee movie though. Like we were talking, like she's on her way to being Oscar nominated after she'd done a few things, and now she's doing a movie in Eileen that nobody watches, and then a Netflix movie like this. I don't know. I want to see her career take off. I thought it was good to see her actually playing an adult, even though she still kind of looks like a kid. She looked a lot like Jodie Foster in this movie, like young Jodie Foster. That's kind of where I thought, I was like, oh, that might be where her career is heading. Anyways, it had some interesting stuff, but it was a little too by the book and forgettable to bump over. So I'm going 2.5.
Yeah, you guys are being way too harsh on this movie. I mean, this is a movie that, first of all, it's made for Netflix, so I don't know what you're expecting. Okay, this is not Scorsese and Caleb Deschanel. Okay, but you know, the movie has a good story. It's, how can you say it's by the book and lame if it's based on a true story? I mean, these are the facts of the movie, you know, and ostensibly they were real, because if you watch the end of it, it all kind of checks out because you can actually see the people doing their thing. Okay, I thought the stuff with the mothers was very fascinating. It reminded me a little bit of The Right Stuff when they were having the astronauts go through all those experiments in the first hour of that movie. It even reminded me a little bit of what must have gone on 4 years ago with the COVID vaccine. I would like Ben Taylor to make a movie about the COVID vaccine. That would be incredible. I think we need more movies about medical breakthroughs. We don't have enough. You're saying Thomasin McKenzie doesn't have enough good roles. We don't have enough good medical breakthrough movies. Okay, this Awakenings, that's about it. You know, we need more. This is obviously an impactful moment in human history. And you know, I think it's something that most people probably don't think about. They take for granted. Yeah, Netflix, sure, their brand is about bringing historical dramas that people don't know about to life. I think that's a noble cause. Okay, yeah, I don't care if it's a little made for TV, whatever. It's got good performances. We know that the actors here are good. One of them was nominated for an Oscar. Thomasin McKenzie, if she ever does good roles again, like Terry says, will win an Oscar. I don't know what more you guys want out of this movie. I actually am close to bumping this to 3.5 stars. I can't quite do it because you're right. It is a little by the books, and that soundtrack also makes me. I like the use of the song at the end of the movie, though, which was in Inside Llewyn Davis. But it's a solid 3-star movie. Okay, people will like it. You guys are just Christmas Grinches. Okay, this movie did not need to be shot in 35 millimeter by Caleb Deschanel. No, sorry, the Junior to make this story work. This is a good enough story as it is. I'm glad it's on Netflix, and Thomasin McKenzie has been doing great work since the beginning of time. She's never been bad in a movie, Terry. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not saying she's ever bad in a movie. She's not making good movies. Like, she's not making the movies that are going to get her the attention that she deserves.
She wasn't old. She is one. That was one of the worst performances.
That was not her finest hour. That's true. But she was in an M. Night Shyamalan movie, an Anne Hathaway movie, an Edgar Wright movie. I don't know what more you want. She's not in Scream 11. Okay, she's probably someone that gets sent a lot of scripts and is probably very selective in the movies that she chooses. That's probably why she's not doing shit. I'm going to stand up for Thomasin McKenzie, and if she wants to come on this podcast, she's more than welcome. She was in my number one of 2018. Great actor.
I want to see Thomasin McKenzie get her outrun, right? Like, give Thomasin McKenzie a movie like that Saoirse Ronan just got. That's what I want to see, and we haven't seen that from her yet. That's all I'm saying.
In an American movie.
I want her to get her showcase. I feel like Last Night in Soho was a showcase for her, and I don't think she's had one
an American movie either, right? I mean, that's a UK movie. I mean, I don't think has she starred in a movie that was produced in the US. I mean, I guess Eileen maybe. I don't know the details of that.
Leave No Trace was. But okay, listen. The next movie that she's set to come out with is a movie all about Carrie Strug in the Olympics. That could be big. And Olivia Wilde directs it. So, like, you know, this is just Carrie Strug. She's Carrie Strug, I think. I don't know. I would assume so.
Interesting.
But like, you know, listen. She could be at the point when Tom Hanks was making Turner and Hooch. Maybe this is just her Turner and Hooch.
She's like a foot taller than Carrie Strug. Like that. And the only other person in the cast right now is Terry. The only other person in the cast is, of course, McKenna Grace is playing Dominique Moceanu.
See, I mean, I think that immediately goes to a top 5 most anticipated 2025 movie. That's very exciting.
Yet. There's no way it's coming out next year.
Okay, 2026. Maybe that's how
based on Carrie Strug's memoir. Will be. Based on her memoir.
That's exciting.
That is exciting.
I mean, like, Thomasin McKenzie's not the problem with Joy. It's basically everything else. So, I don't.
Oh, come on!
I love Bill Nighy in this too. I think he's perfect. Zach, I agree that it's very similar to Living.
Well, yeah, but I mean, how about the scene? He has some really good scenes in this movie. You guys are being too hard on this movie, which is why I want to boost it up a little bit. I think
you're being too positive about it. Like, this is the same as The Piano Lesson. You're giving it 3 stars out of respect because you like the story, even though you don't necessarily like the movie. And we're more realistic about it. And it's a lame, boring.
I also like the Boston Strangler too.
2
See the
stars.
Boston
Move
story.
on.
That's
Move on.
So I think what Todd's saying is not that you like the story, you like the idea of the story.
No, I
And
like
that-
the
and
story.
that's-
Same thing as last week.
I just didn't like. I
It
just didn't like
is
the
very
music
similar
for
to
it.
last week.